Let's talk about books, baby. Was that as cringy as it just felt in my head? Because if so, I'm sorry. Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Destiny. If you've never seen my face before, and if you have, hey, hopefully it's nice to see my face again. I don't know. So today's video is a new series that I wanted to start on my channel called Book Talk. Now, not to get confused with those of you who are on Book Talk, which is the kind of book community that has risen in TikTok, which I do love Book Talk, and I am on Book Talk because I think personally, I know there's like a lot of differences of opinions, but I really like that TikTok has made, you know, its own little community because TikToks are only 15 seconds long. So if you get books circulating through that, I think that's pretty cool. I want to start a book talk series, which I'm not trademarking, okay, not trademarked, because I know that there are definitely other people who have book talks on their channel, but it is basically just kind of whether I'm doing a monthly wrap up or if I'm talking about my favorite books, talking about books that I'm disappointed, etc., etc. I know reading has become kind of a trend, I want to call it. A lot of people, because of TikTok and because of BookTube, have gotten back into for the first time reading, which I think is awesome because reading has always been a huge part of my life. Like, I'm talking when I was little, Pinkalicious, Junie B. Jones, Dork Diaries, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, you name it, I was all over that. I literally have loved reading for all of my life, and I have formed maybe an unhealthy a little bit habit. Here is mine. Here's my own little section of my channel dedicated to books. Just to cover a few little areas. First of all, if you guys want to, you can head over to my Instagram. On my Instagram, I have a books highlight tab where I talk about books that I'm reading or reviews, ratings of books that I'm currently reading, so you guys are up to date. Or if you guys have a Goodreads account, my Goodreads account is linked down below or right here, so you guys can follow me on there. I literally update every single time I'm reading a book. You will know, and it pops up what I rated it. And talking about Goodreads, before we get into the books that I read in September, I want to highlight on where I am currently. So right now it is October 3rd, and basically, if you didn't know, on Goodreads, at the beginning of the year, you can set a goal for yourself for the year of how many books that you want to read. And so my 2021 reading challenge was to read 50 books, which I think I met that in July. So right now I'm at 75 books for the year, which is literally insane. Like, when I set the 50 goal, I thought that was a little ambitious. So that is where I'm at right now. But for the month of actually September, it would be 74 because I just finished a book yesterday. So we are going to go back in time and we're going to talk about the books that I read in September finally, because that's what this book is about. And we're getting through it like 5 minutes or something into the video. So here are all of the books behind me. We're going to talk about it. I actually thought I had a bad reading month, which I hate when people say that, because even if you read one book, that I feel like that's a good reading month, you know? But I was coming off a month where in August I read 23 books. Yeah, you heard that, 23 books. So I read 11 in September. First book that we're going to talk about is 28 Summers by Elin Hilderbrand. So here's a little backstory on this book for me personally. One of my favorite people to watch just in general, and I especially really like her book videos, Sarah Caroli. I don't know how to say her last name, and I'm so sorry, but I love her channel. And she had recently talked about this book, and I had seen it a few other places, I've seen a few people talk about it, and I've also seen it in Barnes & Noble, but it honestly seemed like one of those books that you see like at an airport. So I thought that's what this book looked like, because yes, I judge books by their covers, okay? I'm not a perfect human being. But she talked very highly of this book, and she also, I think, has read the Winter in Paradise series, so I wanted to start out with this one, see if I liked her as an author before I got into this, and I loved this book. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't think that I would like this book as much as I did. Basically, if you have not heard about this book takes place in Nantucket, and it is basically following through 28 years, which at first that really kind of turned me away because I was like, ooh, I feel like that's gonna get super repetitive, because I feel like it's really hard to write a timeline, especially that long. It's basically about Mallory and Jake. So Jake is Mallory's brother's best friend, and they meet one Labor Day weekend when Mallory's brother's having his bachelor party. And there's been like a few instances where when she's called her brother at college, she's talked to Jake on the phone, and she's always kind of had a little bit of a thing for him. And then when they meet in person, they just automatically hit it off, and basically they agree to, no matter what, for the rest of their life, see each other on Labor Day weekend every year, no matter what's going on, because he really likes her, but he's just coming out of a relationship, and she's kind of like, I don't really want to date anyone right now, even though I really like him. But a lot of stuff happens throughout this book. Not a spoiler, it literally says it on the back of the book. Jake's girlfriend, she's like been his girlfriend for such a long time, Ursula, they get married, and she becomes a huge political figure, just kind of spans throughout their life. Oh, and also the beginning of the book, it literally says this on the back, is you pick up like in the present day and she's dying. So you learn that, and then you go back in time. Oh my god, and I forgot something that is so interesting. Like at the beginning of every year, like let me find a page. Basically at the beginning of every year, like say it's 1996, the author kind of highlights on all of the big things that were happening in 1996, what was popular, big news events, etc., which I just thought was super cool, because as someone who hasn't lived through some of the time periods that she was talking about, it was nice to kind of get that atmosphere building. So I really like this book, 4 out of 5. The next book that I read was Daisy Jones and the Six, so I decided to this month give Taylor Jenkins Reid another shot. I read Malibu Rising and absolutely loved it. I gave that book a 5 out of 5, but I had previously read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and wasn't really feeling it, but I will get to that in literally a second. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give her a second try because everyone loves her books, and I did really enjoy Malibu Rising. So I read Daisy Jones and the Six, and I ended up giving this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved this book. I loved the characters. I loved the format of the book. So if you guys didn't know, this book is written in an interview style format. You see like how on the side, and it kind of, so as you're reading every chapter, when they're talking about like a certain event that was happening, you get every single person's perspective, which is so cool, because you know, usually if I was just reading a book and Daisy Jones was telling about it, you are only really getting her side of the story. So it was so cool, and it felt like you were literally watching an interview and you were reading like the script. I really loved this book. So basically what this book is about, it is about Daisy Jones and the Six. Quite literally, it's about a band. They were super popular in, is it the 60s or 70s? And they were a huge hit, and it's just kind of talking about them, their success as a band, what was going on, you know, the behind the scenes that no one else really knows about. So what I love about Taylor Jenkins Reid is that she literally makes it feel like you are reading real people. Like this felt real. I forgot so many times while reading this book that this was complete fiction. So 5 out of 5. So then of course the next book that I read was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Now, continuing from what I said earlier, I did read this book earlier in the year, but I didn't finish it, and it was the audiobook, and I have decided that audiobooks honestly just aren't the best thing for me. It was a mix between, if it's not something physical in my hands, even if it's on my iPad, like if I can't read it, like my eyes are on the words, then it's not going to comprehend for me. Like I cannot listen to audiobooks and genuinely comprehend what's going on. And it was a mix that I was reading this while I was in school. So I was literally doing schoolwork in class while I was listening to audiobooks, and it was just not sticking into my brain. And I originally gave this a 2 out of 5 stars. Like I did not like it when I was listening to it, but I decided to give it a second shot because everyone raves about this book. Like if you have not heard about this book, you might be living under a rock. Oh, on my second time around, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I did really enjoy it. If you don't know what this book is about, it is about our main character. It's weird to say main character because she really is, but as well as Evelyn Hugo is obviously our main character. Monique, she works for this like magazine, and Evelyn is auctioning off like her most iconic dresses, and basically Evelyn's team contacts Monique, the magazine Monique works for, and they're like, we want Monique to do the story. Evelyn wants Monique specifically, and once Monique gets there, Evelyn's like, I'm not writing about the auction, I'm writing and giving you the story of my life. I want you to write a book about me, and I only want you to do it. If you don't do it, then I'm not doing it at all. So then Evelyn basically just unfolds her story, and I really loved this because it shows the news and kind of the publicity and all of those little crappy articles really play a part in someone's life, and how there's way different things going on behind the scenes, and how everyone thinks they know what someone's going through, but they really don't. And it was just so amazing. A lot of people cried this book. I didn't cry because it just didn't provoke those emotions out of me, but still I thought it was a beautiful story and I really loved it. The next book that I read was 9 Perfect Strangers by Liane Moriarty. And I'm gonna be so honest, I picked this book up because I had seen everywhere that Hulu had finally released the show, and I had seen this book a few times, and I was like, I don't really know if I want to read it, because I honestly didn't really know what it was about, but I wanted to watch the show. And something about me is that I genuinely cannot watch a movie or a show if I have not read the book first. It's so weird, but I have to, because the thing is, once I watch the show, I won't read the book because I already know what happens. I decided to read this book. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. This really exceeded my expectations because I'm going to be honest, I did not really expect to like this book. It's honestly just kind of a little fun read. There's not much depth to it. It's not like a super memorable story, but I still really enjoyed it. It is basically about 9 people who go to this health and wellness resort, and the owner, the main lady of the resort, is kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So it's not a thriller, because when I read that, I kind of got the little bit of a like, is this a thriller? But it's not. You're just kind of learning about the 9 people. You get all of their point of views. You even get like some of the people that work there's point of views, and even the main like girl who runs all of it's point of view. So it was really good, and I really did enjoy this. 4 out of 5. Next, I read 2 Colleen Hoover books this month, and the first one was Confess. And my confession is that this was really disappointing. Basically, I gave this book a 3 out of 5. This book is about Auburn, and she's kind of really tight for money. There's a lot going on in her life, and she meets Owen, and she meets him at his little art exhibit, and he's like, hey, this may be weird, but can you help me? And she's like, yeah, anything for some money. So she basically just kind of helps him sell his art, and she instantly really likes him, but he is holding back a secret in their relationship that's like really dire to their relationship, and so on and so forth. And basically what I didn't like about this book was it felt so immature to me. Like when I was reading it, it didn't feel like Colleen Hoover's writing to me, because I love all of her other books. I've not rated a single book from her less than 4 stars, and this one was a 3 for me. It just felt really immature, and there was a lot going on. Like there were so many subplots, and it just didn't all fit together that well. And a lot of people love this book. Like a lot of people are like, this is so underrated, I love it so, and I'm just like, not for me personally. But then the second Colleen Hoover book I read was Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. I rated this a 4 out of 5 stars. This one was a lot better for me, but still not a 5-star, and definitely not one of my favorite books from her. I feel like this would, like, Confess is my least favorite book of hers, and this would go right above Confess, because I just, even though I rated this a 4 out of 5 stars because I did enjoy it, I felt like it was way too long. Like this book is over 300 pages, and I just thought this could have been resolved within like 250 pages. This book is basically about Morgan and her daughter Clara. So Morgan is really strict on Clara because Morgan had Clara when she was 16, and now Clara's 16. So she's kind of like, Morgan didn't have a mom that was really there and really strict with her, so Morgan feels like she has to be that for her daughter to get her daughter on the right track. The one person that kind of holds the whole entire family together is her husband and Claire's dad, but then he gets into an accident and dies, which is not a spoiler, it's on the back of the book, and you're kind of just following their relationship and everything. And Colleen Hoover always has a plot twist, but this one dropped like literally in the kind of beginning of the story, and you're like, okay. Alrighty then. And that being said is why I say I feel like this book is too long, because instead of the plot twist being dropped at the end, plot twist is dropped at the beginning. So it's like, when you're gonna do that, it feels like you're gonna resolve it faster, and she didn't. So this was a 4 out of 5. Just wasn't my favorite. Next book is The Soulmate Equation. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I just feel like I love Christina Lauren. They are so amazing. If you didn't know Christina Lauren, they're 2 different people that write one book. But basically what this book is about, it is about Jessica and River. So Jessica is a single mom, and she sits in this cafe every day because she's just kind of like a freelance data, I think she works with data, and her best friend is an author, so they sit in the same coffee shop every day. And River comes in and he orders an Americano it's like 8 a.m. every day, and they call him Americano. He seems just kind of rude from what they see. And so then one day he tells them about like the app that he's launching, where basically through your DNA you find your soulmate. So then Jessica and her best friend go and do it, and it turns out that Jessica and River are a 98% match, which is like the highest match that anyone's ever seen. So with the app launching, they decide to fake date to the public, but a lot of things happen, blah 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 blah. Everyone knows about the fake dating trope. So yeah, this book was a 4 out of 5 for me. I loved River as a character, and I really liked Jessica. I usually love Christina Lauren's characters. They're super good at making likable characters. The next book that I read was The Bride Test. This is number 2 in the Kids Quotient series, and was thoroughly disappointed. Rated this a 2 out of 5 stars. Just really didn't like it. Basically, this book follows Kai, which is Michael from the Kids Quotient. It's his cousin. So you're following Kai, who's autistic, and basically his mom is like, I want you to have a wife. Why don't you have a wife? So she goes into another country and gets our other main character, Esme, and she's like, you guys, you have to seduce him and you have to make him want to marry you. Which was just a no from me. Their relationship just didn't seem believable for me. I didn't believe anything. There felt like no connection. Like, I literally was reading it and I was like, give me a little something, and it gave me nothing. So I gave it a 2 out of 5. My camera just died, so we're going to try to wrap up super quick. So I remember I rated Conversations with Friends a 3, I rated Normal People a 2, and I rated this a 1. I just really did not like this book whatsoever. I did not like any of the characters except for Simon. He was the only likable character I found in this whole entire book. Felix felt like he just did not need to be there, and I'm just gonna be honest, it felt boring and I really didn't like it. There are parts of this book that were talked about and it just felt really hateful for no reason. So with that being said, this was a 1, and I don't think I will read another Sally Rooney for me personally. And the last 2 books that I read this month, I actually don't have physical copies of, but I started I finished the first 2 books in the Bromance Book Club series, so the Bromance Book Club and Undercover Bromance. I rated both of them a 4 out of 5. I loved both of them so much. I love all of the male characters. Basically, if you don't know what the Bromance Book Club is, it's basically this group of guys, and they started their own little book club where they read romance novels to try to help improve their relationships with their wives and understand them better. And I just love that concept. And I loved the main couple in the first book, and I really loved the main couple in the second book. I loved them equally. There were 2 completely different storylines. Like, the first book is basically that 2 main characters are married but are on brink of divorce, and then the characters in the second book are just like, they know each other. But I really do recommend those books. I think they're amazing. I think they're just fun to read, honestly. I read both of them in the same day. Like, there's only about 200 something pages on them when I was reading on my iPad, so they were a really quick read and so funny and super enjoyable. So those are all the books that I read in September. I can't believe that I actually got through that. I tried to record this video earlier and absolutely hated everything about it, so hopefully this one is way better. Anyway, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up down below, and if you guys like me, then go hit the subscribe button down below and the notification button on the side to be notified whenever I upload videos. And you guys comment down below what the favorite book of yours that you read in September. What was your favorite book that you read in September? Because that just sounded super complicated for no reason. So I'll see you guys when I see you. Peace.